Here.
Brumman. Here. Brady.
Here. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from May 15th, 2024. Moved and supported. Any questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Public comment, 3 minutes, please identify yourself and your township. Okay, oh, okay. I saw hang you up. Then we'll move on. Doug, you will let me know when it's time to pull the trigger on the.
Sure.
Okay. Well, we'll start with Julie then.
Good afternoon. I'm Julie Darton. I'm the District Director for MSU Extension District 4, which includes Alcona County. Alcona County is my most northeastern county, and I'm really glad to be here. I know that commissioners are very familiar with the work that we do with Extension, but just indulge me because there's a whole lot of people here and they may not know all the things that we do. So firstly, Extension exists to be responsive to community needs, to bring the resources and research of the university into communities. And that is why we have a location here in Alcona County and why we've had a long history of partnership with Alcona County. And we do our programming directly with people. We deliver programming to individuals in all sorts of environments. And we also take in questions from the public and try to do our best to answer them. So we get questions about, why does my tree look like this? What's wrong with my ducks? All kinds of, it spans the gamut of all the kinds of things that we do. And we also provide resources to communities in the form of education. So in Alcona County, as you're aware, we're supported by a millage. That has been renewed. There will be a millage question on the ballot this August for MSU Extension and 4-H. And we're very proud of the fact that we've been able to have voters agree that this is a project worth investing their money in. But in addition to that, we have a lot of people that invest their time and effort with us through our 4-H programs as adult volunteers who work with youth. And nowhere else is that as strong in some cases as it is here in Alcona County. It's really in the small communities where we can see the ways in which we've had impact and the ways in which we've created a legacy of volunteerism and giving back. We have so many programs under the banner of 4-H, and I know that when I was here earlier, I shared the 4-H showcase. I brought some additional copies, and I see there's additional copies here already, so everyone in the audience can have a copy of the 4-H showcase, which really is a snapshot of what youth in the community have done in 2023. The other thing you'll notice through that is that many businesses have supported that effort by advertising in that. And that's a huge reason why we can produce that publication and share all of those impacts with people. Here in Alcona, we have a soccer and softball and baseball, athletic pursuits that you might not necessarily connect with 4-H, but we are an affordable way for the community to have those programs and provide that insurance that youth will be covered if there's any problems with those efforts. But also, it relies on us to be the clearinghouse to make sure those volunteers are screened and prepared to take on the challenges of being adults responsible for youth that are not necessarily their kids. And of course, we have livestock programs that you can see evidenced at the fair, shooting sports programs, and we have special interest clubs that may just be for a short amount of time. This Sunday, this report is a retrospective of where we were in 2023, but this Sunday, we're gonna have a 4-H day led by our program coordinator, Stephanie Domke, at the ARA site. There's a number of other activities going on as well, but that's an opportunity to showcase clubs and help kids connect with new opportunities through 4-H. And we're very excited by the work that Stephanie's done. She's been on staff with us just under a year, and she's really hit the ground running. She's a 4-H alumna herself and really knows the value of that in her own life. And she's able to really work hard to make sure that she's connecting those opportunities with youth here in Alcona County. In addition to that, there's all kinds of special events that we put on that we engage youth in. So there's natural resources camp. There's Camp Akiak, which is coming up also in June. We have a number of youth, a handful. We'd like to grow that number going from Alcona County. But it's an exciting opportunity for youth to have a positive experience, and mix with other youth from other northern counties. And we do statewide events like 4-H Day at the Breslin Center, where youth are invited to come to a basketball game at Michigan State, and also 4-H Day at the Tigers, which is an opportunity to have in partnership with our Major League Baseball team. So beyond 4-H, we do a number of things around agriculture. That's really where the base of our program began and is continued. And Michigan has a very diverse profile of agriculture. Because we're a state that has the benefits from the Great Lakes and the climates that are created by those. And so because of this diverse profile, we have to have a staff that matches that. So growers all across the state can access research that's done through our research experiment station, through our extension and farmer partnership research that's done. And also have people come out and visit their farms or consult with them one-on-one. And so that's everything from field crops to livestock to horticulture, even Christmas trees. And we have a specialist for Christmas trees. And so in this way, we're ensuring that we have a strong agricultural sector and that we have a strong ability to feed ourselves as a state. And that we also we're adding value by exporting products across the state and across the world. And we also do programs around health and nutrition. I know you're familiar with that. Our program instructor, Danielle Jurassic, she started with us at the beginning of this year. That's a change from Michelle Luttrell, who was serving. Michelle has transitioned into a new role doing outreach specifically with veterans to help connect them with our health programs and help connect them with supplemental nutrition assistance program if that is something that they would like to have. So a number of veterans qualify for that program, but may not feel like they should take the assistance of that program. And so her role is specifically to work across northern Michigan, but as far south even as Flint, to connect with veterans and help them understand that, you know, those benefits are for you and they're for your family if you need them. And then in addition to that, mental health programming, health-related programming, for example, she does a series called Sleep, which teaches people about how to have good sleep hygiene and how to incorporate good sleep habits in their, that's not a commentary, in good sleep habits in their life. Maybe that's the warning that I should wrap up, but in addition to all those things, the supplemental nutrition assistance program education happens for adults and youth across the lifespan as well. And those programs are delivered in classrooms, in senior centers, in partnership with programs like Alcona Health Centers. We have created incentive programs for moms with young kids. We've created opportunities for kids transitioning out of foster care. So we're really being thoughtful, we think, about the ways in which the curriculum that we deliver can impact people. So for adults who may find themselves living alone for the first time, we have a program called Cooking for One, which helps them understand, you know, I can cut back on my grocery bills. I can cook just what I need to eat. I don't have to, this recipe always makes for 6. I can learn how to cut that down and live within a more reasonable means and also not feel the pressure to finish leftovers, which sometimes I feel, quite honestly. And then we do community development work. And so that can take the form of all kinds of consultation, facilitation, natural resources education. We have a really strong partnership here in Alcona County with the Northeast Michigan Great Lakes Stewardship Initiative, which engages students from Alcona community schools to do things all over, you know, all around Great Lakes stewardship and understanding how to reduce the stream of waste that goes into the Great Lakes. I just heard from Tracy D'Agostino, our educator here in Alcona County, that the rain garden that was installed at the harbor is continuing to work well. Some new trees were planted, so they're feeling very successful. And that was a project that high school students did last fall. And so we know that it's continuing to work and continuing to help stem runoff from, you know, hard surfaces into the lake. And we also offer programs for elected officials, which I think I've shared with you, governing essentials, which talks about, things like the Open Meetings Act it can be for township or county officials. It talks about Robert's Rules of Order, how to have a good meeting, and how to maintain order. And new county commissioner school will be happening this coming fall after the election. We're entering a new era, as you're all aware, of 4-year commissioner terms, and I think we'll need to be thoughtful about the ways in which we offer that education. As commissioners, maybe there's more vacancies that need to be filled across the state in that role, but maybe not. And I'm just so excited about my work. I love my job. I think you can tell. And I could talk a lot more about a lot more programs. But I humbly submit our annual report to you with grateful thanks for all of your support. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay. Thanks a bunch.
All right. And unfortunately, I do have to run because I'm leading a 4-H program in Crawford County. So I will be on my way. But I did want to offer Commissioner Brumman additional copies. Oh, if you need some more, please contact our office. Thank you so much.
Okay, next up is Jennifer.
My presentation is not going to be as fun as Julie's. So, we have currently contracts right now with JMS for district court case management, our case management system has since the 80s. And we are in the process of having to transition that from JMS to JIS. What kind of happened is the state is planning to eventually cover all costs related to our case management program for the courts. You may have heard of initiatives from the state for the state starting to take over the cost of courts. And there's a lot of things rolling out. I know Mac is involved with that, but this is one of the first things that the governor has approached right now as a statewide case management system program for us. Circuit Court and probate court use JIS, as Steph knows in her office, and we have now been approached with the JIS to make the same transition. What has been prohibitive for us in the past regarding that is the migration of our current case files to JIS has been extremely costly. Not to mention, we've always been very pleased with our services from JMS. So one of the ways that our JMS system is working right now is that we have an AS400 that's housed in Iosco County that all 4 of our counties go into. And that AS400 is on its last legs right now, and we need to purchase a new one or we need to jump ship. And the judges at our last judicial council meeting, or actually we've had this conversation for about 1.5 years now, have decided that we are going to abandon having our own local AS400 and use the states. And then when the governor passed in her budget, free migration from JMS to JIS, that it made most sense for us cost-wise to make that change now. It's a huge endeavor for the courts to make this change. Last year, we had a similar change that the state court mandated for courts called set-asides. And they had offered, because it's a very labor-intensive process, they had offered to compensate employees for their extra work to try to do this, or for courts to bring in other staff to assist with that. We didn't ask to bring other people to do the work, but we did ask to compensate our staffs. And the way that that process worked is that the state would pay the county a reimbursement for the extra cost to pay our employees. So that didn't work very smoothly with us because for some reason that's from a long time ago, it's not necessarily based on the current exemptions that are set forth, but our district court staff are considered exempt employees and are salaried, and we have issues when they work in excess of an overtime paid. So I met with finance and had some conversations with them about how this would look, because when the state proposed doing it the same way, I said, I don't want to do it that way. It did not work well for us last time. And what is another way that we can do it? Although I would prefer to do it that way. It just didn't work well, and it ended up being a problem for our staff. So they said they could go to a third party employment company to pay the staff to do this extra work that would be outside of work hours. Having spoken with finance, we agreed that we didn't like the way that would look to the county. It doesn't have the transparency that we would prefer to have as far as staff working this extra time. And discussed coming and talking to the full board about how this could look moving forward. The state has proposed and set aside $100,000 for each of our 4 counties to reimburse not just their wages, the staff's wages, but the extra costs that come with those extra wages. Like if there's additional costs for MERS and FICA and all the different costs that come along because of the extra pay that the staff would get. They've also said if we could bring back staff who used to work in district court, who is familiar with what our programming is, Pam Fowler, that she could work those hours as well, because it is going to be a 6 month, at least a 6 month project. So there is an end, it's not just ongoing, and that they would be able to compensate her and maybe even Carrie Scamazzo, who used to work in district court, who's now our recovery court, clerk and, police coordinator manager. So I'm coming to you to ask you if you would approve that our staff be able to be compensated by the state, even though they are listed as salaried employees at their current, they aren't hourly, but we figure it out hourly when we need to for different reasons. Their hourly rate up to 40 hours and in excess of that, or if they work over 40 hours over that next, you know, they're hoping to have it done in 6 months. I think if we were to put a cap on it for July to July, then we wouldn't have to come back and talk to you about this again. So that process can happen. I've reached out to the state as far as what would reimbursement look like. I haven't got that answer back yet, unfortunately, but I know with the state, with the set aside, I was able to get a monthly or quarterly reimbursement, whichever the county preferred.
I appreciate the fact that it has been recognized that they would pay benefits. But we so often forget that the benefit that's paid for having worked, we'll say an additional 100 hours in the year of 2024. In the year of 2034, we're still paying the fringe benefit of retirement in many cases.
That's a good point, Karen.
Pardon?
That's a very good point.
Thank you.
Mhm.
But that's, it, somewhere in this formula, there needs to be a reaching out. Now, if you have somebody who's arbitrarily 25 years old, I'm not worried about when they reach the 70 or 80 year mark. But at least some way, because the county will continue to be paying
For
that.
sure.
They'll be charged it, they'll pay it, and we'll sit back and say, "Why are these rates so high?" And one or two people are not going to make them that noticeably higher. But I think we, sitting here, have an obligation to protect that
I
to the
understand
best
that.
of our reasonable ability.
So we're talking about 1 or 2 employees that would be in that situation. Because 2 of them were not, they would not be, unless I'm mistaken, they would not be in a defined benefit situation that would still be trying to get the county to reach the liability. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, 2 of them would not. I don't know.
So Linda, we're talking about Linda,
Yeah, okay.
Linda and Courtney and Devin and Carrie Scamazzo are current employees.
Right.
And we're not even sure if we're gonna need to use Carrie Scamazzo. That is that she has offered to help if we need her help. And we're hoping that within that and Pam Fowler will be coming back. She would not be considered being authorized to have a pension to do something like this. I mean, she could get a 1099 or something along those lines because she's not an employee of the county anymore.
True. But if she was working full time.
She would not be working full time. She doesn't do full time job.
Contracted, that would be.
She could be contracted.
Yeah.
Mhm. She can't work full time for us because she has a full time job. That's not, it would be evenings and weekends.
It's just one of the elements that I think. In the big picture that I need to look at.
Right. Our goal is to hopefully have this transition done by the first of the year, because if we don't have it done by the first of the year, we're paying JMS again for another year. And we're still paying maintenance on the AS400 that we are moving along with right now. And there's no guarantees. You could crash any day, our AS400. And then we would have to buy a new one. To support 6 months. But yeah.
So Jennifer, this is all gonna happen after 4:30? That's why it's overtime?
Well, it would be outside of work hours, yes.
So if we were gonna,
Well, okay, I'm sorry. I would like them to try to get as much of it done while they're here, if they have time to do it while they're here on their regular pay. But
then that'd be their.
there's regular pay, yep, and if they can't, and so they've given us a timeline, they've given us charts on the kind of number of hours that employees would be expected to work in excess of their regular hours. If that were to happen during, because there's different parts of the migration that are more time consuming than just regular, than all of it. And those extra times when they have, because they have deadlines that things need to be done by before we can go to the next phase and so on and so on. And the difference with district and circuit is because the volume and the number of different kinds of charges that come through district court that are different than circuit because of all the different municipalities and the civil infractions and all the different codes that we use. That's why it's a little bit more time consuming than it was for circuit to do the similar transition.
We can't 1099 our employees, so they can't, after hours, can't do that, can
It's no, we had our equal time employed to it.
Throwing the dart at the dart,
they?
One person.
I don't think they can.
working on this. 40, 80, 500 hours.
Well, they encourage us to bring an old employee back who's retired to come and do this job. That's what they encourage us to do.
No,
That isn't
no, I'm
available.
just saying, one person. I realize the goal is to have more than one to help handle this, but if it was only one person, how many hours is that apt to be?
So they've kind of impressed upon me that it'd be about a 30-hour work week for one person to be doing it,
Then how many,
up to 6 months to 7 months.
6 months at 30 hours a week?
18.
So,
Well, how you're gonna track it by? Anybody here after 4:30, you're gonna keep track of your hours?
they have to write down the actual functions that they did in order for the state to reimburse. And the state is so precise in how long it takes for these functions to, I trust our staff, but they are so precise in how long these particular functions that they have been able to create how many hours these certain things take to get done. So, someone can't say that they were in there doing 3 hours for this, they can say it was 3 hours or it took more than 3 hours.
What is our
Haven't we done
alternative?
stipend before? We've done other.
What is our alternative?
We use a third party.
So to me, the third party option is muddy to water even more. Because now you're employed, this person's dual employed to somebody else. But still, it's our electricity, and our water, and our law, and our this and our that, right? Just saying out loud. So,
It's not a
We
good.
did that with the elections.
Yeah.
Oh, we were able to pay stuff and Trina off
The state
wages.
paid.
We
no,
never
it went directly to, it wasn't off wages, it went to all the MERS and stuff.
Did it go to all your benefits?
The
Absolutely.
state, the state.
If you're a full-time employee, you're a full-time employee. There's no workarounds for that. Trust me, I went through this a couple of years ago trying to figure out another situation.
I don't see that we have much choice.
I agree we don't have much choice. And personally for me, if the state's gonna provide the money to pay for all the costs, additional costs incurred for the employee, then I don't think about it.
You can figure out MERS costs and everything we gotta do.
Oh, I did have one question I thought of,
This is against your county policy is what she's saying.
right, so we have to make let's vote to make this inclusionary situation. But within that monies, is there, let's say, just throwing this out there, extra costs incurred by, say, the clerk's office for managing the extra time tracking and all this stuff.
I can ask
For
that.
payroll, is there some kind of money's available for that as well?
I can ask that.
Like, what would you call that?
Administration.
Administration type fees?
They're extremely generous about this right now. They want to see this happen. They want to see it done.
Yeah.
Tom Boyd, who's the state court administrator, said, find a way to make this work for the county.
So, I mean, my opinion, I'm one guy here, but, you know, the state will cover that, and if also there's an opportunity for them to cover administration fees, I don't see what the problem is.
Okay.
Well, how do we, okay, here's another thing, I hate to drag this out. Doug, when are you ready to go yet? Okay. And we can, you know what? Can you stick around a little bit? We can move, if I can move my question down from when we bring it up in new business.
You know, come back into business.
Well, not, you don't have to, but somebody else. I have a couple more questions that I want to get my brain straight on before I ask you,
Okay,
but, is anybody else have questions for Jennifer? Because we're gonna,
So is that the L 4029 we're gonna vote on, right? That's where that's happening?
right. So that is,
County summer L 4029, is that what?
No, that's.
Yeah, no.
Equalization.
oh, okay. Well, we'll take care of it now.
Yeah.
Okay, so Stephanie, when. I should know it's ready, but I don't. When employee accrues vacation time, Is it based on? Do we do it here based on hours worked, or you're worked all that up front, right, for the year, are you basically,
Yeah,
so we, like, for example, where I work. Every week I get 3 hours,
no,
whatever, on my vacation times, so we're, okay, so we don't worry about that,
Nope.
that's not gonna accrue any extra vacation times. Doesn't affect longevity in any way, that's time spent, not hours, right? I mean, days, not hours,
right, no.
okay, so,
Seniority. I'll do that.
no, I mean,
No, I
Gonna
think that's
affect
the
the
situation.
FICA, the MERS.
Yep.
And your county policy, you would have to amend that policy, because right now they are exempt. Basically, the only ones that are not exempt are unions. That can accrue overtime.
right, so. Within a motion, could we then, we don't have to change the whole policy, can we just do a case,
exclusion
this
for
case scenario?
Specific Situation.
Yeah. Okay. Any more questions?
Before we go, so that we are considering time and a half as overtime, we're not paying straight time for the extra hours?
They time up to 40 and then time and a half after 40.
Okay. Right.
And they're 35 hours typical work week. It's there.
I mean, I know I brought this up to you before, and I don't wanna. It's not, you can't eat your lunch from your computer and
We talked about that and
make
that
it
would be,
overtime,
right,
right, I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
and that will be explained.
Because if I work here and I'm walking the door at the same time as you do, and I leave at the same time as you do.
No, I agree.
Well, how come he gets an overtime and I'm not getting overtime?
100%.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right, well, how soon do we need to put this on a vote and agenda?
The sooner that I can tell you, the sooner the project can get started.
Oh,
So
so you're ready to pull the trigger right away?
we're trying, well, Fort County's trying to pull the trigger, so I'm doing my piece.
Can we wait 2 weeks or do you want something today?
Wait, do we-
Well, if it's, but
I'd like to go ahead and pay that.
Well, impede
I don't
anything.
see.
I don't know the progress of it through that. So nobody
Not
else
sure how.
had problems last time.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask Jen, what the other three
They
counties.
did
were
not
doing.
have problems. They're all hourly and treated them as hourly. We're the only ones that have court employees that are considered exempt salary like we do. So
which is a whole policy we're gonna have to review anyway, due to new,
I saw your email.
rules. We're gonna have to, we're gonna have to take a look at that.
which was the problem last time.
The Federal Trade Commission
Yeah.
came down, they raised the cap for overtime exempt. So FYI, we might have some people.
When did that go into effect, Adam? I printed it off.
July.
Yeah, it starts in July, I think, yeah. Anyway, okay. Well, okay,
If somebody can have some wording here, I'll make a motion, but. Not sure I want to even with this.
Yeah, to me.
Um,
I'm asking the board to authorize that the court, district court staff, or actually the court staff, be allowed to be paid through the state, reimbursed, this county reimburses, for paying these, and I don't know how to phrase this either, for a limited exception time period where they have to do this extra work for the GIS transition. They would be paid up to straight time between 35 and 40 hours, and then again, time and a half after 40 hours. I would ask for the time frame to, in case there's a delay or problem, to be a 12-month process.
We will interject a small part of the motions
go ahead.
that all costs inclusive of administrative costs be covered by the state.
Problem with that one?
I don't know. I'm going to mention it to the state like that.
But that's what we give her. She has the talent and the skill and the ability to get it for us.
So, fair enough.
so let's formulate a concise motion here.
Yeah.
So it's called, we're gonna call it the JMS to JMS to JIS transition
Project,
project.
Special project.
From dates, starting July.
it started July 1. We won't get started before July 1 for sure.
July 1, 24, and July 1.
December 31st, 2025.
That's our goal.
Well, the goal is that, but I don't wanna sit here in January, and then bring it back up and think, oh, well, we didn't make target because the state changed this and state changed that, you know, how state works, right? You've been around a little while.
Yes.
So July 24th, July 25th, and it's only to this project, it's not like they can just start working overtime wherever they want.
Look forward to the completion of this project.
That's good. That's good.
Well, I don't wanna do that either, because if something really screwy happens and we get past next July. 1 year is a reasonable, that's me, 1 year is a reasonable time to review. Again, to say, okay, why does this take us long? What's happened?
Well, and if you want.
Plus, we'll have to
I can tell you
review.
it's done.
I don't know, as the funds, because when we doing the fund draft, it's also done for us, so just saying. So July 1st to July 24 to July 1st, 2025 is the duration. A motion to allow. You want to say court employees in general or specific ones, specific positions?
For employees,
Salary exempt,
Two.
court employees,
they're all considered exempt. Except for the two that are in the union. Right?
Which two are in the union?
FOC.
Oh,
All court employees.
salary exempt, court employees. Time and a half over 40 hours.
You wanna say something?
Whatever, for this project only. Outside of current, county policy.
And just another FYI, this is gonna eventually save us money because JIS is not gonna cost us anything. So,
That's your motion, Terry?
Looks
Want to read it again? I'll read it for
Go
you.
ahead.
JMS to JS project, July 1st, 2024 to July 1st, 2025. Motion to allow salary exempt court employees time and a half over 40 hours for this project only outside current county policy. I will second. Any more discussion? Oh, for sure, we need a roll call. Need a roll call to, do you want anything, anyone? Then if there's no discussion, do a roll call.
Yachts,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Brumman,
Yes,
Brady,
Yes,
Small.
Yes.
thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And if you prefer, I can give you updates as we progress. So,
It would be nice.
okay,
Yes.
thank you very much.
And also with the updates provide,
How much?
how much we spent versus how much is available.
Okay.
It'll be better for all around. Thanks a bunch.
No, thank you.
Okay, go down, here we go. RRS presentation.
Hello. Um, can everybody hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. So I know that Elisa Seltzer was listed on your agenda as a presenter today. She had a family emergency, so I'm standing in for her. I'm Kristen Wieland, a senior consultant with RRS. And I believe that you heard from Elisa a few weeks ago, and she presented on the materials management planning process. RRS is a consulting firm that's been hired by Alpena County to help them develop a group of counties that are interested in co-planning. And so this presentation is an extension of the one that she provided a few weeks ago to advance that plan towards the implementation of a multi-county materials management plan that has Alpena County as the designated planning agency. And the request today is for your review and consideration of approval of an interlocal agreement that would officially formally bring all of those 5 counties together in a planning process. I do have a presentation if you'd like to walk through that, or could answer any questions, and can answer any questions on the interlocal agreement, which I believe you have in front of you or have a copy of for review.
Presentation again, or?
No, I think questions.
if I may, Mr. Chairman, I would at this time then move to authorize the chair to sign and adopt the interlocal agreement for materials management planning. As provided.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Well, here's our opportunity for questions. So, do you have any questions for our presenter? Looks like everybody did their homework pretty well. You've been pretty front to.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the questions that I had and didn't write it down. Of course, but I did. I guess the question's always the money. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, so the specific dollar amount is specified in the interlocal agreement. Each county that participates in the multi-county planning process will be asked to put $70,000 into an escrow fund, basically an enterprise fund that Alpena County will hold, and that will pay for the administration and the development of the plan itself. So as the designated planning agency, Alpena County will be the one that's really doing the legwork to make sure that all of the components of the materials management plan are included and are to the specifications that the state is requiring them to be. So every county contributes equitably in the interlocal per the interlocal agreement. And that is based on the first year of funding that Eagle is allocating. It's in statute that state funds will be distributed to each county in a total of, in a multi-county plan, $70,000 per year. And then in addition to that, each county will get 50 cents per capita for the first 3 years. So the funding ask is $70,000, and that's based on the money that you'll get from the state for the first year of planning.
The group that,
It's a big plan.
the policy, as I understand, is you're going to put together this group that's going to be the planning commission, whatever you want to call it. We will be putting people forth names to possibly be on that. And then we're going to, it will be the decision though of Alpena County of who's going to be on this group.
Yeah, if it's okay, I'll share my screen, and I guess I shared it before you gave me the okay, so I apologize for that. But my slide might actually describe it a little bit better. So let me get to the right screen here. So the interlocal agreement, there's an interlocal agreement committee, which one of you will be, whoever this group, your group, Board of Commissioners appoints, will be the representative to the interlocal agreement committee. That's different from the materials management committee. The ILA committee is really just to make sure that the relationship is meeting expectations and that the agreement is functioning appropriately. And then in addition to that, each county will put forth a recommendation for who could represent their county on the material management planning committee. There will be one planning committee for the entire group of 5 counties, assuming that it becomes a 5-county group. So this list of individuals is specified in statute and has to be fully appointed in order to have a complete planning committee. And so the process that's specified in the interlocal agreement is that each county will contribute the names through whatever process you normally use in your county to select committee representation. You'll submit a list of these individuals to the NEMCOG policy board, and then the NEMCOG policy board will evaluate all the names that have been contributed and equitably distribute the members so that Alcona County and the other 4 counties are equitably represented on the committee. The 2 at the bottom, the elected county or municipal government official and one business, are 2 roles that you can contribute to that planning committee, and those are not eligible to be modified by the NEMCOG policy board. So those bottom 2, the one elected official or municipal government official and the one business, are 2 that you will be guaranteed to have representative of Alcona County on this committee.
We're sure that we will have someone on that.
Yes,
Yeah.
now this is a 3-year grant program. They are saying that there's gonna be a continuing grant, but we have an expectation of increase in recycle do they put anything on that?
So the interlocal agreement that is before you is just based on the plan development process, which we anticipate being about 15 to 18 months. So we know that the funding is specified in the statute. It's guaranteed based on appropriations. It's specified to be $60,000 per county, an additional $10,000 if you join up with other counties, and then the 50 cents per capita. That's for the first 3 years. After the 3 years, it goes down to the $70,000 flat amount. And again, it's based on appropriations, but this is intended, from the state's perspective at least, it's intended to be a funded program, whereas in the past, the solid waste management planning did not have funding that came along with it. So that's a significant distinction between the old planning process and the new one.
So, yeah, so Kristen, so when you guys, this plan is gonna put together how we're gonna go forward in our recycling for this
Right.
county. And part of it, a big part of it is utilizing Alpena County's recycle facility that they're building. So
Right.
it's gonna be all of that. And you're gonna tell us what, through this plan, what we're gonna do. But we're gonna have to pay for that. We're not gonna have grant money for that. Do we know how what are the how does that get paid for when we, at the end of this planning process?
For the new facility in Alpena?
Yes,
Yeah, so great question. Elisa has been the one that's been most involved in the development of that, but and RRS continues to work alongside Alpena County in the development of the new recycling center. It's already achieved a significant pool of funding from state and other grants. So there's a good chunk of the funding going forward. The interlocal agreement that is before you is really just focused on planning, actually planning putting forth the document that sets the plan in action. There's no obligation for any of the counties that are participating to contribute funding towards the development of that facility. However, I would suspect that going forward after the plan is developed, knowing that the intention is to develop that regional facility, that there may be an ask from Alpena County for a contribution of funding from the contributing counties, but that's not part of the discussion or part of the conversation or the decision before you today.
by this planning. Since we're investing, we're part of this interlocal agreement, we're gonna be bound to this agreement. That whatever comes out of it, we'll have to do. Or are we gonna, at the end of it, will we say, you know what, this really wasn't what we wanted to do, so we don't want to. So part of this agreement could be that we contribute to the Alpena County recycle facility. And
The interlocal agreement is not specifying that you make that decision right now. The planning process that will come in the next 15 to 18 months will have conversation about how collectively the region will improve the amount of waste that's diverted from landfill. But there's no expectation that this planning process will kind of corner you, and there's no intent for Alpena to corner you into contributing financially towards the development of that facility. The only financial commitment that you're making is $70,000 of that state funding towards the planning process. And the planning process ends when the plan is approved by 2/3 of your municipalities within Alcona County. And then you would move into implementation, and you can elect to continue the interlocal agreement at that point, or you could elect to disband it, depending on how you feel about the process at that point.
thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, then I guess we're ready for a roll call.
Brady,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Yax,
Yes.
Small,
Yes.
Brumman.
Yes.
Motion in there, motion carries.
Thank you.
Anything else then? Questions? thank you for coming today. Appreciate your input.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Doug. Okay, we'll do that. Terrell Callahan, Mary Ellen Jones.
Hello,
Hi.
hello, we're here from the Harrisville Arts Council. So, I'm the secretary. She
I'm a
is
council member.
council member and our grant researcher writer. So,
Good thing.
she's very valuable. So what we're bringing to your attention is that we would like to find, if not one grant, a couple of grants to put a mural on the blue wall here. For the Harmony Weekend 50th, which is this year. We're having a dedication bench made that we would like to put here. With Joan and Bruce Hartman's name on there. They created the art fair in 1974. And, so just have a dedication bench there, and then if we can get the mural on there, then somebody could sit and enjoy the mural. We are in the exploration part of it. We have talked with the DDA out of Alpena. She has given us all of her documents. The legal documents. So that we can advertise for muralists. We have now the paperwork that we can use as a contract. We were even exploring speaking with the muralist to see if we could have maybe some of our local painters who want to become muralists, shadow them. That hasn't been brought up in conversation yet, but that was our idea. So,
Alpena has, I don't know, I think 8 to 10 murals already. So they are very successful. They've done all the work. We just went up there and basically want to shadow what they did. And we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We want to continue doing murals if people will have it to do them. This is part of what Harrisville Art Council wants to do in addition to Harmony Weekend and Mayfest and all the other things that we support. So the DDA suggested for a first mural not to search for someone, to find someone local and just get it done so that everybody is successful and they get on board, they're inspired, and then in the next iteration, you send out a call for artists so that you get different input and different artists and aesthetics and all that. So that's what I think we would like to do.
right.
We have some grants that we'd like to apply for, but we're in that period where they're for you, the deadlines are till July and you can't start the project until October, which doesn't really fit our,
We really
mission.
wanted it done by Harmony Weekend.
yeah.
So we don't know if we're gonna make that.
Yeah, so we've
We're not
identified
giving up.
an artist in Alpena who went to Alpena High School. He's done the mural of the lady in the eagle. I don't know if you know. That on the Enterprise building.
Second Street.
Yeah, so he's done that. He's done the rainbow trout across from Key Park. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So he's excellent. There's a video of him putting up that mural on, is it Second Street? And the process is unbelievable. And he spray painted it, so I don't know if that's part of what he would suggest here, but we did send him what it looks like and the dimensions, and so we're in this research phase. So we're here to get some support from you guys.
Are you asking permission to put it up? Are you, what is your
Yes.
total question for us?
We would like to change the look of that wall.
So what is the wall?
It is a
It is.
modern wall
It is.
that can be seen from the light and from Teresa's and from all of the traffic. We want to brighten it up. We want people to come to that stoplight and go, this town is bright, you know, let's go down Main Street.
Or just come over and have a seat.
Well, that's too.
Yeah, park their car and walk over it.
Yeah, because it is a beautiful yard. Yeah.
I guess some of the questions that I have. One of them goes to the bench.
Uh-huh.
3 years down the road, what is? Benches deteriorate,
Mhm,
they're not taken care of,
mhm.
and especially right now. I'm not sure we want to add to our building and grounds department one more thing to have to be concerned and responsible for. One of my second things, and I'm sorry, but that's the subject that the paint, the mural would be,
Mhm.
and then murals deteriorate. Maybe there's a protective thing that can be put on, but even at that, they do deteriorate. So who is going to be responsible when that does? Is it going to guarantee you another mural if you want to put another, I mean. Those are
Mhm.
items that I think need to be cleared up, at least
Yeah.
for me, before we jump
Yeah,
into this.
the maintenance
I
of
think it's
it.
a great idea
has to
and
be
all
the
of that.
Yeah.
But there are, for me, those are some of the questions I have.
Yeah,
So the bench is made out of cedar. So it lasts longer than,
But it does deteriorate.
It does.
You look around.
and it's gonna have Harrisville Arts Council on it. We purchased it, we're paying for the wood burning to go on the top. Why couldn't we be responsible and just have it here?
You can, but. God forbid, and I'm certainly not. Trying to be ill-minded on this, what if something happens in Harrisville Arts Council? They,
but not for 50 years.
Yeah. Yeah,
I know, but
we are
You see where I'm going
13
with that?
strong now.
we've
Yeah.
got to protect what's there, and it's a reflection upon the county if it's in poor condition.
Right, yeah.
Right now, today, next year, and the next year. You guys have got it, no sweat.
Mhm.
But 10 years from now, when I'm gone. Have I left? The Board of Commissioners with something that's an eyesore, and I have that obligation to. Have to see, I believe I do, to see that built into the system. You protected those kinds of things.
Mhm.
It may be as simple as saying the county can get rid of the bench if it gets really crappy.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's simple.
those are, that may seem trivial and may seem minor,
Mhm.
but we've all been to places where there's a bench that's been dedicated. And unfortunately. You hope their life was better than what the bench ended up to be.
Right.
So those are just
Yeah.
the most loudmouth person sitting at the table.
I mean, I think we would take pride in the bench.
Right.
Staying beautiful.
It's gonna have our name on it.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And also the mural, and from what I've seen, yeah, they use special paint. It's, I mean,
And
the
they
trowel,
coating
yeah,
over the top.
yeah, the trowel, you would never know. I think they put that up in 16.
Did it say 22?
Oh, it's 22. Okay,
Yeah.
I was thinking of the other one. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean. They have special coatings,
Mhm.
you know, I remember we put up scrims and they lasted a long time up in Alpena. We were doing, some marketing and.
Mhm.
So I think, you know, I think those are all great questions and concerns, but I also feel like. Harrisville Arts Council, we're coming to you to present this.
Mhm.
Certainly, we would. Look at the maintenance of it and
Oh,
build that
sure.
into our budget, so.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's a great idea. I know there was talk last year about it. There's no sense people,
Yeah,
but. And I don't know that we need a motion this year, but I certainly think that. 1/5 of this board is willing to say, it's a great idea, there's a couple little things, we have to make sure we take
Mhm.
care of them,
Yeah.
but go forward.
Okay, so we
And
can,
that's just one person.
yeah,
So are you gonna get some ideas? I mean, I think
Right.
I'd like to see the board get, here's the options, here's what we're looking at. And we are involved in saying, yeah, that's really cool, because all of us. I remember a mayor who did a thing in Main Street
Right.
and everybody hated what happened.
Yeah.
I don't wanna be a commissioner who did the thing on this wall. and
Right,
everybody
yeah.
hates it.
so how
Done
they,
some research on that. They formed a committee
yeah,
and there were business owners. There was obviously the DDA members. And so we thought we would have a subcommittee with Harrisville Arts Council. Because it is an aesthetic that we want it to be pleasing, but also. He's an artist, so we would like to say, hey, what do you think? Learn about our town, come back with some ideas, present those to us. The committee, whether it's one of you represents the commissioners is on the committee, but we would collectively decide. I feel like we all have good taste
we do.
and and so that's how we would do this, but it is, you know, we're hiring someone because of their aesthetic. If you've seen his work, it's stunning.
He does
And
good
it's
stuff.
enhanced
Mhm.
Alpena, I think, so that's what we're thinking in terms of.
You know, we did talk about it, it wasn't with them, but it was a different situation, so I'd be for it, but I wanna see it before we give the final okay.
Yeah,
So I have permission to send him the measurements so that he can design something?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, you have 2/5 now, but I mean, that, you're not doing anything,
Yeah,
so
we
you
just
can come in and
right,
measure,
yeah.
you don't have to vote on
I
it,
already did.
yeah. So get a proposal and then bring it and say, hey, this is what we're thinking.
okay,
This is-
so you guys are open
I'm good
and
with it, yeah.
Receptive to
and
that.
receptive to
Perfect.
moving forward with that
Yeah.
space. Right,
Okay,
all right,
I think we're.
Thank
good.
you.
thank you very much.
Okay, now, Doug,
Yeah, yeah.
are you ready yet, or do we do some other stuff?
Yeah, I just wanna get Terry up on the screen. here,
Okay.
so.
Do we need to add to the agenda, under new business, the halls?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yes, if we could under new
We
business.
also
that'd be
have a
nice, don't
request
we?
for a modification for a soil erosion inspection. And I think we need.
That's, at this point, it's just in communications.
Pardon?
That's just in communications at this point. I think we can address that at the next meeting.
Doug, who's coming up on?
Terry,
That's, well, you're welcome to bring it up. like-
Terry Holmes, our consultant. Probably.
There's a lot of what ifs and how they work, some situations with that.
There he is.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for being here. Today we thought we'd come in and give you a pretty detailed update on where the project stands for broadband in Alpena County. So a number of things are gonna happen here today. We have Terry Holmes, our consultant from Connected Nation, who's gonna open the meeting with sort of the status of where we stand in the county with other providers. Federal money, territories covered, things of that nature. He's gonna show you that and you're gonna lift all those commitments off the map. And you're gonna see how many homes are underserved and not served in the county. So kind of just sort of set the tone of where we've been. Some of the headwinds we've been facing over the past couple of years. And then we will bring in some folks from Cherry Capital who will go into a deeper dive about some possibilities for the county. So with any questions before we start? Oh, handouts too. You want to hold on to those until? Are you ready? Yeah, we just got some things when Tim and his crew get up there. You might have gotten some of this in email, but we use some funny papers. No.
Well, if you emailed it to me, it's gonna be on paper anyway.
Let's do it. All right, Terry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon.
Thanks for joining us. Give us just a little overview of what you're gonna present and then I'll try to handle the questions and we'll handle some questions, I'm sure. So go ahead.
Sure, sure.
These maps are the result of the recent study that we did. They're way more detailed than the one in 21. So, okay, go.
Okay, I've got to find the right map here now. But last fall, Alcona County through Doug commissioned Connected Nation to develop a geospatial map showing the broadband environment in Alcona County. In other words, how many homes are unserved, how many are underserved, and how many are served, where those locations are. Plot out all the providers in the county that are serving the county and at the speeds they report as their maximum speed offerings to residents. And so we did that, and give me a moment here to find the right map, and I'll pull it up. And the map was quite revealing in what it showed us. Here we go. Because we have what we have coming up is called the BEAD program, the Broadband Equity and Access Deployment. $42.5 billion spread across all the states and territories. And that money is meant to provide funding to providers to go out and bring service to every unserved location in the country. So each state has to develop its own 5-year plan on how it's going to do that. And in doing that, the states have to recognize all the previous funding programs through the federal government and state government as well. So in Michigan, you have what's called CMIC and Robin, 2 funding programs from the COVID funds that have been used for last mile grants. The map you're looking at here shows all those funding programs in Alcona County. Move this down a little bit here. And I can turn those off. Let's see, I've got to move this out of my way. So if I turn off those funding programs, there's the county, and the green is the national forest. So I'm going to turn that off. So you won't see that. In these funding programs, the interesting one to look at, and I'm going to pull up. I want to turn off all these others. There's various programs, but the one we're interested in is called the Protected Bowers. And for some reason, I'm not getting that to come up here. That should do it. Nope. Here we go. The Protected Borrowers. This brown one on the right here is, and we click on it and see that. Should. Not sure why this isn't working so well for me here. Shrink the county a little bit. My map is not working here. But what you saw to begin with was all those funded programs, and they're called enforceable commitments, meaning if they've received funding for broadband deployment, BEAD cannot fund those same areas. And it covers almost the entire county. That's the problem. So let me see if I can get anything to work on this map. It's funny, I've been on this for an hour and everything was working fine. Do a reset here. Sorry for the delay. Again, the green is the national forest. I'm gonna turn that off. And we'll try this again. USDA has a category called, right there it is, protected borrowers. And so what you have here in the brown is Northern Michigan University. It was a wireless program that they introduced in 2022, but I don't know that it was ever built. And then over here, you've got in the blue, you've got all band. And they don't serve all these areas, but they're protected in those areas. The brown up in the corner here is also all band. And again, they have protected status there. But when I turn on, and this is a really good example, because I'm going to turn on the unserved locations in the county now, all those red dots, and you can see how many of those fall under those protected service areas. But if I take those service areas away, they become BEAD eligible, meaning you can go to the state of Michigan's broadband fund there and apply to serve those areas. Now, the interesting thing is the state of Michigan eliminated these protected borrower areas because they were for funding programs that did not fund for 100 by 20 broadband speeds, 100 megabits per second download, 20 megabits per second upload as a minimum speed requirement. So when you remove these, now the county's looking pretty good. And this is really what we brought out of this mapping program. So now this makes it very interesting for a provider like Cherry Capital to come in and apply for the BEAD funding to build these areas. There are also underserved locations, and those are locations that have a minimum of 25 megabits down, 3 megabits up. And those areas are in yellow. So, and then if I go to the served areas, which are served by a minimum of 100 by 20, those areas are in green. So you can see the county lacks a lot of broadband, and that's why we're here today. So Doug, is there anything else you wanted to see specifically?
No, you just hold for a second there. I think the important thing we're trying to show you is that we're stuck in a logjam with all these commitments and unable to affect any kind of build anywhere because they were protected all the while. There were other ways around this that have recently come to our attention, and that's why we're here today, is to have a group called Cherry Capital who has some really intrinsic experience working across the state of Michigan, a lot of rural areas, a lot of counties, and dealing with this situation. We're not the only county in the country that has this problem. It's known federally, it's known at the state level, but they're mere obstacles. They're not going to stop us from getting to the opportunity which we've been after for several years. Tim, you think that's a good enough segue? Sure.
I would like to show one other item here, and that is you can see the protected borrower status here. The shaded areas on the map, which are primarily, well, they're Northern Michigan University here on the right, and everything else is all band. But I can pull up now where all band has reported their subscribers. And this is where all band is. But if you take away that protected borrower status, it opens up the rest of the state for providers like Tim to come in. So if I remove that, so that's what was protected and no longer is. Thank you to the MyHigh office in the state of Michigan. And Tim, I'll turn it over to you.
I also want to add, most of you are familiar with Tom Stevenson, who's been working with us over the past 4 years or so. sort of in an unofficial capacity, Tom, but
Officially, yeah.
but very much dedicated to seeing Alcona County succeed in this area. So,
Yeah, I've been working with Alcona County since 2012, actually.
yeah. So.
Maybe get this thing done.
You and me. All right, Tim, it's all yours. We're Cherry Capital Connection. We go by CCC fiber for the consumer. Makes it a little shorter to get to the website. They're typing out all those stuff. Today I have Levi, he's our COO for outside plant. So anything from the roadway and down the roadway. And then Justin is our operations officer from the ISP side. So which is consumer facing. So two distinct efforts that we try to keep moving in parallel to get people connected. I'm the CEO and founder of the company, and then Tom's also here as he's our CFO. We were up in Sault Ste. Marie doing
And driver.
and driver. But appreciate you giving us some more time. We were meeting with the USDA and the Sioux Tribe, where we were brought in to get their Reconnect 3 and 4 process that was delayed for about 2.5 years to get that moving forward and get the results that the USDA wanted. And today was kind of a pre-launch meeting, make sure that we're all on the same page and following the same rules with them. But so Cherry Capital is, we've been over here a couple of times working with fixed point wireless providers, working a little bit with Allband. I was a mission director for an organization called WISPA, so that got me all over the state. As a company, we transitioned from fixed point wireless to fiber back in 2018. And since then, we've won an ARPA award for Benzie County that ended up servicing about 41% of the county. And Roscommon County is helping us do about 38% of the county. We've been a Robin recipient and we're an RDOF winner. So we have the experience of working with feds, working with the state, and all those projects are on schedule. What I'd like to do is we put together a PowerPoint presentation that may help you generate some questions and answer some of your questions, and then I come back and we'll drill down more detail, how the process works. Okay. Yeah.
As Tim said, I'm Levi. I'm the outside plant operations for Cherry Capital. Like to introduce ourselves a little bit more. And just talk about the economic opportunity that fiber optics bring to Alcona County. A lot of people ask us, why fiber? Why isn't other solutions viable for serving our community? Other solutions like fixed point wireless, as Tim said, our company originated as a fixed point wireless company. We moved to fiber optic back in 2019 because fiber is future proof. Unlike coax plants, fiber is symmetrical service. So whatever service package you sign up for with fiber optic cable is our lowest package is 100 meg by 100 meg all the way up to 1 gig by 1 gig. Other service types like coax is typically, you sign up for 100 meg service, your upload speed is only 20 meg. With symmetrical service with the current world climate now, we're not just consuming information. We have remote workers, we have remote education. Those require not only receiving information, but also Zoom calls, just like we're on right now, uploading the information as well. And having that symmetrical service gives a much smoother communication both directions. So also it helps bring in there's a lot more remote workforce. It's a beautiful county. Being able to provide the internet service for people to work remotely here. Also, it helps retain the population. You have good internet service, your local community can get remote jobs. Or also it provides the education services for remote college to be able to stay within the community. So Tim talked a little bit about why CCC Fiber, Cherry Capital. We're a locally owned and operated company. We're right out of Elk Rapids here in Michigan. The focus is the rural communities up north in Michigan here. Locally owned, locally operated, not private equity funded. Our focus is on the communities that we work in, live in, and we have our heavy focus is the rural communities as well. Talked a little bit about Benzie County. Benzie County is a great example of what one of our many success stories within northern Michigan. Benzie County contributed $1.5 million in funding to get started towards us leveraging that towards multiple other funding opportunities. Crystal Lake Township contributed $100,000, and then also the emergency services in that area contributed $300,000 for us to build out. It was required by the state for them to have fiber optic service to bring a 911 tower into the city of Frankfort. And that was their contribution towards that. Through that funding, through that public-private partnership, we were able to leverage that funding into winning a Robin grant to bring additional funding to compound that effect. That's allowed us to build out to 285 miles within Benzie County, and we will be passing over 5,100 homes. The total funding that's brought in between the different municipal fundings and the contribution from Cherry Capital has brought over $8 million of funding from that initial $1.5 million funding into building broadband across a big portion of Benzie County. Many of our other efforts across the state, we just came down from Sault Ste. Marie this morning. We are starting a project with the Sault Ste. Marie tribe from St. Agnes all the way up to Sault Ste. Marie. That's to help them get their funded project off the ground, which is Reconnect 3 and 4 funding that Tim talked about. Has been sitting for the last couple of years. We're getting that moving now, just over the last few months. So we communicate and partner with the FCC, the NTIA. We met with the USDA this morning as well. The MyHigh office, the MPSC, and then, from our example from Benzie County, with the 911 system as well. We are building in multiple communities. We have a big presence in Roscommon, Benzie County, Crawford, Crystal Lake Township, Whitewater Township, Beaver Creek, Frankfort, also Missaukee County. So we built a lot of relationships. Our company is focused on working with the communities, building relationships with the communities, and seeing how we can help them expand their efforts and help, BDAs and EDCs expand their efforts to serving all of the unserved and underserved communities across their municipality. What we do is we focus on engineering services. Apologize for the top, I just noticed that. So our focus is on the engineering services to help communities move towards additional grant funding. you know, we are building and operating our own network, but the, you know, the focus right now is to help get funding to serve those unserved and underserved areas. So, the part that I'm not able to get to go away because of Zoom, is, households that are considered unserved or underserved are households that are lacking 100 by 20 meg service. The big focus there, especially over the last few years, a lot of school kids have, you know, were forced into remote learning without any viable internet service options. We've heard many stories across communities of, you know, communities setting up Wi-Fi points for them to drive to. A lot of kids have had to go to parking lots of, you know, restaurants and that kind of thing to receive internet service to even be able to attend school. Us being able to provide future-proof fiber optic internet service throughout the entire community allows that education if there's ever a situation where that's required. One of our focuses, we know the ARPA funds have a timeline of, we have a timeline on the ARPA funds to be allocated by the end of 2024. So, through our engineering efforts, our focus is to be able to deploy those ARPA funds towards broadband, to position ourselves so that way we can go after, expand those ARPA funds into a public-private partnership. So that way we're showing commitment from Cherry Capital, commitment from the communities that we're working with to have a better application towards BEADS. BEADS will focus and give additional points towards those commitments and those partnerships between the communities and between companies like Cherry Capital. It'll give us the readiness to build and operate and maintain the network, long-term project viability, network scalability, and demonstrate community support, also the support of Cherry Capital. It also meets with the MyHigh office goals to demonstrate that collaboration across the communities. We will complete engineering field work, complete and submit BEADS 1 application. Engineering services can be used as matching funds. So the funds that can be allocated for the communities for the engineering services of Cherry Capital, we can take those funds then and then reassign them as matching funds to help with the BEADS application as well. So part of the application process as well is letters of intent or also letters of support from the community members. That's a collaborative effort between Cherry Capital and the communities that we work with. So it's outreach to the community, seeing what community demand is out there for these unserved and underserved homes, and getting letters of support from them saying, hey, we need this service. We're excited about what the community is trying to do, and we would support a BEADS application. We would support that for our community because we're in need of those services. We're in the relationship business as well as the fiber optic internet service business. So we like establishing relationships with the communities that we're in first off, but also with the other providers in the area. We're an open access network as opposed to many networks are just closed and will only provide their service. But we are an open access network that will allow other carriers to utilize our system. So we'll be establishing, we have some existing relationship with All-Band communication with Mercury All-Band, Mercury Broadband, I'm sorry, Alpena Power, and then PIEG Power. So also this will put us in a position that there's a lot of RDOF funding that has already been deployed across the state. there's a lot of concern with default on RDOF, and there is talks of the potential of BEADS 2, which would be the potential for, if, you know, setting up this positions us to be able to support the community in case of RDOF defaults. So. Yeah, and our goal for today is to discuss a public-private partnership with the county, discuss a contract, so that way we can be positioned for a BEADS 1 and a BEADS 2 application. Here is a shot of the MyHigh office's data collection on unserved and underserved homes. These are groupings of homes. It's kind of hard to see on the presentation. Some of these go from, you know, a small number in the more remote areas of the county to pretty dense, but you can see overall for the county, unserved households that are not currently funded. So you can see the current funding areas on the map. The green is Mercury Broadband, that's RDOF funding. And then as was brought up earlier, All-Band has some, you know, USDA funding as well. The kind of gray or light blue area of the map is what the MyHigh office currently views as unserved and unfunded. So that entire region of the map, according to the state of Michigan, is eligible for a BEADS grant. In that region, there's currently 1,824 unserved homes. As part of passing those households, we anticipate approximately 4,800 additional passings within those areas based off of historical data. With the short time frame, we haven't dove deep into the numbers, but that's an approximation of the households that would be served by serving those unserved homes. As far as underserved, that's the households that are not meeting the broadband requirements of the state. There's 172 additional households within that area. So we're talking about a total of about 2,000 unserved or underserved households. So reaching all of those households, like I said, would approximately serve a total of an additional 4,800 with fiber optic service, which is future proof. Some of the services that we offer beyond the engineering service within our network is, we know our customers need what they ask for. They just want their internet to work. That's it. We just want good internet, good speed, and we just want it to work. So our focus is on affordable, reliable, fast, and simple. We provide high-speed internet access to residential, small business, and enterprise. Transport layer 2, point to multi-point, IRU, dark fiber to other carriers to be able to provide other services to the region and help create competition. Leased point to point as well. We also provide, and as you all know, there's certain regions in the rural community that do not have good cell service. So we make sure that we also have landline service available. Cell service can always be available over our Wi-Fi, but we also offer the landline service, VoIP to residential, small business and enterprise as well. And we design, construct, and maintain the network. And then the next couple maps are an overview of where we are currently constructing and serving across northern Michigan. You can see the zoomed in portion is our home, our headquarters in Elk Rapids there, expanding over. You can see our efforts inside of Benzie County, Roscommon, Misaki County, Leewenau County. And then this next slide is an overview of our efforts on behalf of the Sault Ste. Marie tribe from St. Agnes to Sault Ste. Marie. Any questions?
Actually, one more slide in there.
Ah. I believe that. I believe that's the end.
Is it? Okay.
So,
Cool. So that hopefully gives you an idea of where we take it. In the short time frame, we have beads essentially could open up as early as next month from an application standpoint. We're hoping there's a little bit more time to do that. But we will respond and set the assets and resources we need to make sure you're not up. The reason why beads 2 is important is while we're doing that application of beads 1, we'll use language and reference the fact that if Mercury Broadband does default, that will be in high consideration by the state for beads 2 funding. And that's, you know, you need to be a beads 3 if there's Robin defaults. But the idea of the state, they're trying to adjust the beads program to be responsive to unknown variables. So it's a little bit ironic today that communities are frustrated with not having an answer. And as a provider, I have the same frustration. The rules are changing, the variables change. The USDA has now come up with a Reconnect 5 program that MiHi will have to adjust their numbers based on who wins Reconnect 5. So it's a game to rush to get to everybody, but everybody wants credit for their piece. And that's creating a really complicated job for the MiHi office. I think Eric is doing a great job there. And I wouldn't want his job because he doesn't have control of a lot of the information that comes in. From a challenge process, you guys didn't do any real challenges.
It didn't pan out.
Okay.
Community.
The challenge process was an opportunity, especially, and I told counties to do this, was focus on the community anchor institution. So even if there is an area that's already funded, if there's a community anchor institution in there that doesn't have gig available service, we would be able to build into those areas because that's important to make sure everybody's on gig level service. One of the things that wasn't brought out in here, the benefit of working with Cherry Capital to the county as we go through the analysis is the idea that since you're participating on a total project that could be, 12 to 16 million, that contribution results in a return to you to maybe interconnect all your facilities on fiber at a much lower cost. It's not a free cost, depending on how the total analysis comes. I don't know how many places you have, but to get all your structures interconnected on your own private network for the purposes of government, and if you tie in the township buildings along with that, now you have a robust voting system. And with more cameras and everything else the state is throwing at jurisdictional authorities, fiber is the best platform in order to do that. And we take that into account when we're trying to give you a cost benefit analysis and return on your investment, because you are investing in the process. Our standard fee has is $1.5 million. The typical is we spread that over an 8 to 12 month period. We had suggested in the proposal 8 months because the fees process should be done by then. Maybe not awarded, but all the variables and all the responses should change by then. And we decided on this one because of the short time frame and potential budget information restrictions, that $300,000 of that could be embedded in the BEADS application. So if BEADS is awarded, 300,000 of that would be paid out of the BEADS award. you wouldn't be obligated if we don't win. So that would be $150,000 a month for 8 months. And during that time, we do monthly statuses, you see the progress, you see what you're receiving over that time. And that's the other reason we do it. Common was unusual, they just wrote me a $1.2 million check, which was, unusual for a 1-page contract. Benzie, we got into a 45-page contract and worked it out in more detail, but they were so excited to get going. They were the first county in Michigan to allocate ARPA money to broadband. And I don't think that's why they did it. But they wanted to solve the problem when we brought a plan to them to execute. I do apologize for the first meeting saying the budget amount. Normally we take 3 to 6 months to get to know one another, answer questions, build up that relationship before we do. But the timeline is so short. It's just, we have to cut to the chase and, answer your questions and see where we go. But, hey, did you have a chance to look at the analysis? I do want to clarify, with Terry's. The MyHigh map that's published by the state, this thing you saw up on there, that's the map Michigan uses for the awards, right, wrong, or indifferent. And that map, when put together, was approved by the NTIA. And so I agree with the state that, excluding anything that was protected that doesn't meet the 100 by 20. If it's protected for 25 by 3, it would be wrong to protect them. Because, it's just the rules changed. There are other areas like ACAM and EACAM participants that are protected because they were elevated to 100 by 20 for the money. Reconnect 4 for Albany is also a 100 by 20 system, so it should be there as special categories. But what Levi showed was from the state's database, and there's still more adjustments. As an RDOF, as a Robin recipient, I have to provide an update by July 1 of households along my route that could be protected. So they're still collecting the data, they're still refining the map. But 2,000 households in Alcona is a good number to work off of. And the number of households we pass is, double that or more. So a good business model for a company like ourselves to invest whatever the additionals are that you need to do in the end. Yes, any questions?
You answered some of it at the end there, so you're anticipating the engineering is gonna be for 2,000 pass by of homes, right?
Yes, no, we'll
Potentially.
do the engineering for all the homes we're gonna pass.
Okay, yeah.
So we have to make sure the capacity is there.
Right.
What beads would fund would be the 2,000 households. But the funding vehicle for beads, what's called a high cost number. Under Robin was about 2,500, 2,800 a house. Under beads, I think the final number is 8,000.
Could be at 15.
Could be up as high as 15, so a $12 to $16 million project. Could end up being at 2,000 times, 16,000, they raise the beads application, to 30 million, and if it does, then that extra money for connecting those homes, profit wise, can be reallocated into other areas. They don't care what we do with profit, they just, the direct funding, we just have to stay away from. So in these areas and our construction techniques and our methods of doing it, we're able to get way under budget. Or we go for the maximum because we can reinvest that back into the county and solve additional problems.
Does this include, you'll submit the bead application also?
Yes. Now, like the public-private partnership doesn't obligate you to any fees commitments, but it does demonstrate to the state that not only is it a letter of support, but you're also working on helping us get layers of support, helping get layers of commitment. Building on the work that EDC has done. So that app, I mean, that really helped us, and under Robin, we were number 10 in the application. One being the best application, 10 is where we fell. And most of that was done by Grow Benzie. Grow Benzie got us 120 or so letters from hospitals and doctors and educators. And so the more of that community support is reflected, the state knows they've got it. They truly have a community focused, community delivery, and that's what they want. They want the best that they can get. We would use the EDC to help us with that, because they're the local, they're on the ground, helping with that.
So are you, along with the BEAD grant, are you working at like the RDOF grants that are already out there, working with some of those?
Yeah, we have an RDOF that touches on 8 counties in Michigan. Our biggest RDOF portion was Rock Common, Misaki, Sheboygan, Grand Traverse, Leonoff, Benzie, and Wexford. Did I miss somebody? Don't think so. Those were all RDOF. It was 2,700 houses, households, to be connected, 2,781. And, we got 5.8 million on it. Our outlay beyond that was right around 12 million to do it. And right now, we're into the 40% tile. We got that done by the end of this year. And I think our projection is something like 48% completed by the end of the year. So we're on target with Robin. A lot of that we exploited the Reach 3MC network to help us get between communities, because it's an existing resource and it's a solid network. Yes.
Tim, can you talk to the other partners at the base of the network and Merit and the other relationships we have?
Yeah, our primary partner in what we do is PFN. They use the Reach 3MC network, but there are a lot of people call the Merit network, but it's a little bit more than Merit. And they're our primary redundant loop. So if we do, let's say 5 fiber distribution centers, one about every 6 to 11 miles along the route, they'll create a loop for us. So if there's a fiber cut, our fiber distribution centers can send the traffic in 2 different directions. When it gets to our data centers, those data centers are, some of it's on our fiber, some of it's on PFN's fiber, in order to create redundancy. So if I lose Charlevoix, and this area is managed by that data center, it'll fail over automatically the outcast and go out. And so we try to build a dual layer of redundancy, because homes used to not really demand internet. But today, if there's an outage for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, we might have a couple hundred phone calls in that period of time. Business is relying on it. We try to set a high standard, much like 911's network, PFN, that we bring that kind of redundancy and reliability down to the consumer. Merit has now been allowed to work with us. They were restricted by state law to work with private sector. They now can do it on what's called wavelength point to points. Pricing's a little high. We're negotiating with them. But that's how we get down to South Bend, Indiana. We get over to 123 Next Data Center in Troy, or over to Chicago on 100 gig type circuits. And today this area is probably 5 or 6 gig total capacity. So 100 gig would establish a robust path. We work with another participant in Reach 3MC called ACD. They're the ones that are doing most of the wiring for 5G up here. They also have a data center in Lansing. They're a partner with us for those areas that, because we focus on above the knuckles. Anything that goes below the knuckles, we try to partner with somebody else to get there. AT&T is a default partner, you know, you have no other choice, use AT&T. They're usually more expensive, and they're very slow to respond, but we do have a relationship with them. We have on occasion been called into Allman, and we've helped them diagnose something or help guide them in a different direction that they might not have thought of. The board was a little bit difficult to work with. I mostly worked with the workers of Allman. A couple of my employees were the ones that built Allman originally. They're now building another network. The competitive market, we share resources a lot of times. Somebody gets frustrated, they move on. And there's not many companies that do what we do. We are also in constant contact with Mercury Broadband, the CEO out of Alabama. Him and I talk at least once a quarter. And I don't have a feel, it's just some of his plans, there's no way he's gonna get it done by 2027, early 2028, which is what he has to do, so. I think the only thing holding him back is not being penalized. He wants a get out of jail free card, and I'm not sure the FCC is gonna allow it.
Nope.
That's what he's waiting for. So MyHigh just sent me another letter as an RDOF recipient. To please identify the blocks we're not gonna do. And so that comes from Eric about every month and a half, 2 months. He can't demand that they do it, but he has no authority over it, it's a federal program. But he's trying hard, doing the best he can.
What percentage of underground fiber is it?
And it all depends on the amount of rock that we run into. We are right now 100% underground. We prefer underground, 4 feet minimum along the roadway, 7, 8 feet under a road. Anything that reduces our operational costs of responding to a repair is why we do it. When we go to a home, in order to get drop crews, we've had to raise our height a bit. I like 24 inches, but nobody's willing to do it. We redid that when it was our own crews doing it, but we have so much work, we're contracting out more. So since we've come up to 18 to 12 inches, we're now putting it in conduit to protect it one more layer. You don't have to call this day 8 to 12 inches, so you know, anything that will minimize and it will speed up the repair if something happens. But the Sault Ste. Marie tribe is right now 75% aerial, 25% underground. They're asking us to re-engineer it. The consultants had engineered originally. And we're re-engineering it to try to achieve 50-50. There's a lot of rock that I think in this, you have to about what it is. And so fortunately the co-op Cloverland has great poles. We analyzed 360 poles and found 18 that might need replacement. So no, replacing a pole can be 10 grand. So it's you 2 months few of those possible. And Cloverland's been great to work with. One of the few, they are a co-op that's very cooperative. Not all co-ops are cooperative.
Part of your proposal, you put some pricing schedules in there. I mean, was that?
Subscriber pricing?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sure people who are gonna pay for this someday would like to know. Can you give an example? What's a basic package?
Yeah, so one of the things we were thinking about doing it anyway to increase our adoption. But under the state of Michigan and under the, what's called the EDC program, where we report, we can't report a house served if we pass it, if we charge an installation fee, and we want to show it as served. We just haven't got permission yet to go to the home. So we had to waive the installation fee, and as a business practice, that seems to have raised our adoption rate. It gives one less reason for somebody to say no. And so, this past year, 2023, we eliminated the installs. And the other thing that was, well, we were asked over and over and over again, I don't want to go down to Best Buy, I don't know what to buy, and so we put together, basically it's an extended warranty program of $10 a month, we call it worry free. And we'll come and repair anything and replace it if it fails, and we provide the router as part of the install. And that means by the time we get out of there, you're going to be on the internet and do your business. The router is new technology, so we're gonna get the most out of fiber. Some people's routers are 5, 6, 7 years old, and they wonder why they're not even getting 100 meg. That program has been well received by folks.
But pricing wise,
Yeah, Justin?
$64 is our entry level plan. $74 is our silver plan, $108 for our gold plan, and $134 for our plan.
And that silver plan is 100 by 100. That's
Entry is 100 by 100. So our entry level meets the standard that it's currently been set. And it just goes all the way up to a gig from there.
now $64.
$64.
No installation fees.
No installation fee,
Data caps.
no
No
data.
data.
Yeah.
So what's the differentiation between the plans?
Speed.
Okay.
Yeah, so 100 meg synchronous, for the entry, 250 for the silver, 500 for the gold, and 1,000 or gig for the platinum.
And we do have a RDOF program we have to offer by federal law. That what they call sync. Symmetrical under RDOF was 1 gig by 500 meg. Not sure how that came up with symmetrical, but we don't advertise it, but we do have to offer that in the
There's so
RDOF.
many details in these plans, it's.
And they write big laws and there's flaws in, it's not perfect. But we're obligated to follow the rules.
The handout talks about community efforts.
Yep.
It lists many of the entities that you're already working with.
Yep.
If Alcona County were to be added to that list, and then I go turn to the right where it talks about the results through 2027.
Right.
Would CCC have increased their effort so that results would still be through a 2027? Or would that part change to 2028, 2029?
So anything that's associated with ARPA, we have to show a significant effort delivery by 2026. That's, and I mean, we could try to create a fine line that says, well, that was just for engineering, but the state expects results, and what they call results are homes connected. Looking at the timeline, whether or not some areas would be 2027 or 2028, I don't know. But we would want a significant, 80% type of number. So when the state's looking at that ARPA money was used at all, that the intent of ARPA was that a result came out by the end of 2026. We have all the incentive in the world to get somebody booked up faster. That's what we make our money. These programs, all they're doing is reducing our capital risk. We don't make money on it. It's applied to the project. So, and these are high risk projects, because we don't know if customer's gonna say yes or no.
Yeah.
And we gotta build it before they'll say yes or no. So it is a high risk proposition. Although I think our service starts to speak for itself and we have a good adoption rate. Happy for that. From a resource standpoint, like right now for the tribe, we're in search of a company that is authorized by the union to work on the co-ops stuff. We're interviewing one. I meet with them tomorrow. We'll find another one before the RFP has to go out. So we have, in fact, Tom's not here.
I had to go.
Yeah, Tom Stevenson, now his new job, he works for our primary distributor. And our primary distributor isn't so worried about selling material to us. That's just a byproduct. They're another company that does relationship building. And so when we have a problem, we have a need, we just talked to our distributor, the town Westwood. And they'll find contractors for us, construction guys, grant writers, their idea is the more successful we are, the more we're gonna buy. And so, and that's what relationship building is building on each other and really create a success. And so they've been very helpful. They brought at least one to the table. And we're hoping one more we'll be able to interview, but we'll do the same thing here. If we need more resources, we'll talk to our current construction guys and see if they want to add to their crews. Or like when we use a company called ProSource. And it's a company that manages a whole bunch of independent contractors and brings it to the table to get bigger projects. And so, you know, we won't put you at the end of the list. We'll put it into the cycle. So everything's moving forward.
One other thing, how many pages in the master service agreement? How many pages are there?
I think 3 or 4. The master service agreement is a framework of what are your responsibilities and what are our responsibilities, and that the last pages are typical for county when passing a resolution. They want to know the whereas, why here. And so
But they also want to know the therefores,
so
and
this,
I don't have any therefores.
but so, well, therefore is that you're entering into a master service agreement with us. And the master service agreement is strictly saying responsibilities, and that we'll have projects underneath that. So the next one is for us to get you a contract, the next project, and then that would have why. And then that's where the money is distributed. So I wouldn't expect to distribute anything without clearly showing, you know, our reporting requirements. If you want to add in there to see our audits, we'll do that privately. We don't want it to go public, but we're audited every year with the federal money and state money. It's easier to do it that way. But no, we're good. So that's.
I think that therefore is the deed application.
Oh, not in the MSA,
No, I
that
know,
would be
but-
part of that contract, would be the deeds application. But,
Yeah.
we could add it to this, we could say in this, you know, that entering into master service agreement. The anticipation of the first delivery is a deeds application. If that's appropriate for that, what we didn't want to do is say, well, we're done with deeds, goodbye. Yeah, because you might have another project that you want to partner with us, to try to get done, so we wanted this to be a living document with the other agreements. And what we're gonna do for that contract is look at Crystal Lake, which had a lawyer look at it multiple times, and the Benzie County lawyer looked at it multiple times and try to put those two together. We're more than happy to give you references on Benzie, Roscommon, so you can, you know, get a better feeling about the transaction.
Just for your information, the Benzie contract that you sent me.
Yes.
It's 40 pages. So therefore, they're here. Okay, the first one that you're talking about, just the master service
Master
agreement
service.
example is sort of the entree. Or the appetizer that gets you to this.
Now, we would ask to get the contract sooner than later, just for timing, but we want to get you as much information without overwhelming the decision. First meeting, this is a lot for throwing at you. Oh, the other provider is Allban, by other sources of information, is having difficulty executing the Reconnect 4. They lost Reconnect 2, and for very similar reasons, they may lose Reconnect 4. And as I meet with the USDA says, Tim, we don't want any of the money back. We want you to build a network to the money that you're given. You can do it more efficiently, find something else to spend it on. More paperwork to send it back, no paperwork, spend it on. The USDA, NTIA, and FCC are very competitive of who gets the budget money to spend and monitor. one, and USDA's hat that they hang, or hook they hang their hat on is that they have a 99.1% success rate. And sometimes that success rate is there because they tolerate and take time to deal with problems. And most of the time, the problem gets resolved. Another provider steps in, somebody steps in. So they're very tolerant with people who have hiccups, and that happens. Every business has a hiccup. I mean, nothing wrong with that. But they're having a hard time executing on Reconnect 4. So our discussions are gonna be around how to help. You know, we won't just hand them 4.7 million, you know, we'll work out a business transaction. But that would look really good on a BEADS application if that happened. And all these things lead to try to, what do we need to do to get a multiplier? And we'd rather the money come here, or at least the state of Michigan, rather than, or this area of Michigan, rather than going downstate to when Bennett Harbor, you know, you deserve just as much attention as everybody else.
Do they have anything, for the rural counties? To help with different grants on our portion of what we have to pay?
I haven't seen any, which Tom was here, that's a question I would ask Tom. Yeah, what is available? Most of my energies are focused on how to get it, just the infrastructure stuff. But I'm sure Tom can, we'll reach out to Tom. That's a good question. Let me see if I can get him. Hopefully he has some, maybe some, you know, some beneficiaries that are around or whatever. I mean, we'll work with you, you know, as best we can.
You mentioned letters of support.
Yep.
Where does that fall into the timing of the next 6 months?
Probably in the next 45 to 60 days, because it has to go in with the application. Letters of support are very simple. They don't carry a lot of weight, because it just says we support you.
We just have a chain letter.
Yeah, we'll write it,
Entities.
we'll say all the words, and the EDC or anybody would go door to door and, you know. What works best is if we get letters of intent. Which means if the network is built, we'll use it. It's not a contract, you don't have to use it. But if you, and then on the letter of intent, you say why. You know, so that you have.
A question came up.
That works, that has a stronger. So we would be looking for both of those, yeah.
Yeah. I have Tom phone.
Yeah. Yeah, Tom. So, do you know of any, grants or funding opportunities that are out there that you could bring to the table to help them with the engineering fee? Pardon?
I didn't hear that.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have, we have an engineering fee, 1.2 million is upfront, 300,000 is after deeds is issued. Do you know of any resource that the county can use to help them with that 1.2 million?
So he finger. Yeah. No, that's that part of it. So that's what, everybody comes back and wondering.
Yeah.
Digital, there's gonna be digital out there, digital, training grants and stuff coming out, but not for, infrastructure.
Yeah, no, and that won't get here until after the deeds, that's what they're saying.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Tom. No, yeah. Any other questions? Good question. Thank you.
Bills? Any more comments you wanna make, Sir?
No, obviously there's a couple of timeline things here that need to be dealt with, not just the BEAD schedule, but we're up against the ARPA deadline. So, some of those things we're gonna have to sit down and resolve. How whatever money that we may be using in ARPA and what the schedule is for that and what the use is going to be. so that it qualifies as committed, I think is the first level. I think that's one of our big, right in front of us issues.
It's end of 2024. You've got to allocate
Yeah, it's gotta be allocated
to something.
before we either wind up using it or use it for something else.
And then it has to be fully deployed or used with real results by 2026.
Doug, are you hoping to have, this, agreement placed today or by the next meeting or what was
This
your?
was to expose you to what we were up against, so not today,
Okay,
but not a month from now.
no, it'll be like in 2 weeks.
Maybe in a couple of weeks, we could have
At our next
everything
meeting.
lined up, get everybody comfortable.
We'll get Friday instead of Wednesday.
19th is the next.
Now, it's gonna be, that day's off to the county, so. I think we're-
Oh, that's what I should read. Okay, yeah, 21st, so Friday, and I can tell you that Tim and his crew, they overshare. It's incredible. It's like done and there, and so if you guys have some trailing questions. And or you wanna talk to somebody over there, we can certainly arrange for that to happen as well. But again, I can't stress it out, but. The time crunches that we're looking at, it's kind of an anomaly for them. They like 6 or 8 months to build relationships and, you know, I was hoping you'd get more people from the local units here today. But you're getting a good dose of it.
To that point, Adam, I think, Rod, I mean, we got a couple of township officials. I mean, it would.
Scott, I
We're
know.
gonna be looking at them to do some ARPA funding. If they have any questions, or if they ask.
I think most of the townships fundings are gone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was,
Okay,
we
well-
needed this informational decision 3 years ago. So, but there are additional questions. It's like, getting the letters of support. I mean, I was just spitballing here with Roger. It's like, what's the school on? I mean, that's a significant anchor institution. And I don't think they're 120,
No, they aren't. I know that for sure.
right? So underserved.
What's the county?
That's the
County
next
would be a
one.
community anchor institution. If you don't have big here. You're,
Boom, there's 2.
Yeah.
Right, and it's all driving, trying to build up. The score to get the funding, right? So. I think there's some other ways too, so. I'm trying not to get down there, but after the meeting, I'll stop the county. I think I can help the board along with Doug, because this is like in my bailiwick. The whole MSA agreements and the contracts that come under it from the communication standpoint. So I can help formulate questions that you guys want to ask to get answers to. To help kind of drive this forward. It comes back down to, I guess I was surprised to hear you guys already did the work to say number of households and kind of at a high level where you run it.
Based on the state of Michigan.
Okay, so based on that, I mean, I asked that question kind of smart because I've seen fiber drop down M72 from Lincoln West 2 times in the last 2 years, and I know it didn't connect to anything. So I'm like scratching my head there. But
a lot of fiber in the ground. That's not a lot of fiber.
I 2 of them put it in the last 2 years. So I'm curious what the households were, the communities that you're kind of mapping. And how you're getting around that protected area. I mean, I wasn't sure, is the protected area not an issue anymore? Did the state don't worry about it?
It's not an issue.
Oh,
The state of Michigan has been. Yeah.
Funded something less.
okay, yeah, okay,
Yeah, we talked to the
Wow.
gentleman who
Yeah.
put the map together.
well, that's fine, you can have this, it's not detailed, there's not roads on there, so I'm just looking at a square with colors.
Oh,
on
I
it.
can, we can send you a link to the My High map.
Yeah, cause I'm just kind of curious.
And it'll
what
bring you
community-
right down.
What
to the
communities
road.
it hits, because then I think this 45 day of trying to get some of those letters. You're gonna need the townships to help try to get out there and get some of that.
We're aware of
This is
that.
where I was going at.
We're aware.
It could be longer than that, but I would put a tight time frame.
Yeah,
So we don't delay.
I mean, I know there is appetite. I can speak for Millen Township, there's appetite in Millen Township. We just don't know how to express it.
Well, comment, if I may, when we were working with Presqu'île. And Presqu'île was considering going after beach, so they were looking for community support. And I came in and I got a canned letter. Gave it to these 5 people, said, fan it out to the townships and see how many letters we can get back to in support of, it was just a gauging process. It wasn't even focused on a specific going after me for sure, let's do this. So we had a drive on, we understand how important that is. Now it's become really important because it's directly proportional to us. And we will need every unit of government in the county to fan out and get as many letters. I can't do that by myself. So-
Yeah, right. That's why that I was trying to get an idea of where the road goes through, because of Millen Township. If it's coming through Millen Township, then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go rally the troops. So,
Well, it's coming to Alcona County, so everybody should be willing to rally the troops. That's the transformational part of this. But getting there is another story.
yeah, I'm holding my breath because I'm one of those people that disputed I can tell you I'm underserved, but I can tell you that because I got the results back from the carriers who said, or let me see, from the federal government who said, sorry, the carrier says they support you. And I'm like, well, BS, I keep trying to buy this service and they keep telling me I'm out of their service areas. So,
There's a little bit of that goes on.
yeah, so I know that that's why I'm curious.
Try to
about
be
what-
kind to my
I want to see the
fellow
specific
carriers.
map of underserved because I think unfortunately most of them.
I actually think the Jackson Nation map can show us that. And, you know, if you get down close enough to it, you can see the roads.
Yeah, okay.
the my high map through online.
And the
Range Rover
Yeah.
down the line.
Is that published online? Is it public available?
If you go Google, you say my high space map and it'll be
Wait,
my
wait.
high.
Cool, that's fine. I can find
If we can, move on here a little bit, and I'm sure you gentlemen can stay over a little bit after the meeting and answer any more questions we might have.
Sure. I think probably what might be a possibility is here in 2 weeks, we do. Not necessarily a commissioners meeting, but we could put together a meeting with. If we get what you say where we're at, we get interested people, if you can come back and we can dig deep into this. Not necessarily, because we got people waiting, we got stuff to do here. So it sound like we're being workable. Yeah, well, it wouldn't even be a meeting, it doesn't have to be a meeting. It could be, we could put it on as EDC. Say this is informational meeting, what we're doing with Lisa. Doesn't have to be a open
Whatever
meeting.
you guys want to get started.
Because I think there's people want to ask a bunch of questions and. We've got people who gotta over here.
While we're here, we're gonna get some.
Thank you, mine too.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me.
All right, what do we got, claims?
Yep, you want to do that?
I'll do that.
Alright. I'd like to make a motion to approve pre-authorized claims and open claims presented for payment between 5/15 of 24, 6/4 of 24 for check numbers 154-268 to 154-442 and e-checks 2377 to 2385 for a grand total of $1,511,590.07.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns? All right, roll call, please.
Johnston,
Yes.
Small, Brumman,
Yes.
Yax,
Yes.
Brady.
Yes. Next is the interlocal agreement material, Five County Materials Plan. Perfect. We want to make a motion to. What are we gonna do with that?
We did that.
Oh, good. Never mind. Done. Sorry, that was linked together. County Summer L 4029.
Meeting, I have it.
I don't know if you need to pass it to the second.
This is who was disputed.
Anybody?
I just need your signature.
No, we provide.
So I just need a motion for the chair to sign.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion?
Only that for everybody's, this year that we went down again. So we're at 4.12 now, is that what it's coming in at?
Yeah.
For our operating knowledge, we were 4.17. To the Headley. So in case anybody wants that wonderful news, that means we get less money when this all goes the other way, the taxes.
Well, we stay at a steady rate.
We do stay, but the fall off, which is inevitable, happens, we're gonna be at 4.12 instead of 4.17.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, we'll do a roll call.
Yax,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yeah.
Small,
Yes.
Browman.
Yes.
Final state equalization report. Anybody have that?
Yeah.
Department of Treasury, Senate report. What do we have to do with it? That was it. We need a motion to accept it? Anybody know?
I think
Hey, let's just do it. I'll make a motion. to accept it. There we go.
it's in the minutes.
Any questions? We'll do roll call on this too. What the heck is state?
Yeah.
Yax,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Small,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Brumman.
Yes.
Just all your stuff. Last new business is the Hawes Township ordinance. Which is, oh, anyway. In regards to dwelling in a recreational vehicle. I have interest in my. Township as well. It's a fun time, so. Kudos to Rod for wanting to do this. And I think they want to try to get some ordinance today. I'll make a motion. To approve. We move to seconded. Any more discussion?
I'm sorry, who was the second?
All right, then we'll do roll call one more time.
Johnston,
Yes.
Brumman,
Yes.
Yax,
Yes.
Brady,
Yeah.
Small.
Yes.
All right, finance report. I don't know what to say, finance view. No, we didn't get to meet in the last couple of weeks, so no updates. Moving on first.
Personal report, we did meet with Dave Hanson, finalized what we're doing for the basement and custodial, so we're gonna remain a 101. We did have the LOU, we had to track that down, you got that signed for the full time, so that'll be taken care of. We had 18 applicants, I think Dave is in the process of narrowing that down to so we're probably gonna get it down to a half dozen and then start interview process next week. And maybe in 2 weeks, have somebody to back in the position. Mike is doing well in the equalization from everything I heard. Just wondering that transition is doing good. Mike, think of anything else? Terry?
I'll just make a note that, start thinking about that, overtime rule, that's gonna change in July.
Yeah, get me.
Figure out
I
who's
haven't
gonna-
seen anything on that.
Yeah. So just be aware, I'll identify if we have anybody here that's gonna be affected by that.
So is it like,
It's up to like 41,000 or something like that.
Anything under 41,000 that would be able to.
Qualifies for
Can't be
overtime.
exempt.
Right,
Elected officials too. Elected and appointed, only department heads.
I don't, that's what I'm just saying, that's why we need that.
Alright.
It's something we need to learn, figure out and get figured out, because it's gonna start here in July, so.
It's a state deal or federal?
It's federal. FTC. Okay, treasurer's report, please.
2,300 tax bills for delinquent taxes from 2023 went out. We updated our tax bills with QR code. We've had a large influx of payment in the first 2 days that they went out. We had one intent to file for proceeds from the last sale. They have till July 1st to file those intent, which is the excess proceeds from the auction. We currently have 280 properties that are forfeited to the county, and they have until March of next year. First of next year to make those payments. We have the tax roll set up for 24. We're waiting for information from 7 out of the 13 entities. For information, I've received a few, about half, and waiting for the rest of them. Just waiting for the millage rates to come in, and then the treasurers have been reminded to create their databases and get with their assessors or whomever is helping them, assisting them get with their clerks, get the millage and everything. And that's where we are.
Okay, thank you very much. Clerk report.
I got an email from the National Opioid Settlement. And there is a new settlement claim that's been filed. I'll receive an email opt-in. And it's with the Kroger company. So when that comes in, we'll submit our application. Yesterday, the Bureau of Elections was here. We did a training with the local clerks and their deputies only. The larger training that I will do will be the last 2 weeks in June and possibly right after the 4th of July, get through the 4th of July weekend. Again, Terry Curtis Township is very much in need of workers. We're gonna, some of this, my staff might be going to Glenny to run their election. The clerk is on the ballot. The person that runs the poll book, her husband's on the ballot, so they're really scrambling for workers. We'll also, by the end of this week, be sending out 1,500 jury qualification questionnaires. I'll probably get them again. The backup equipment from the Bureau of Elections also showed up. That will be hopefully possibly set up by November to do ballot on demand. And as for the 9 days of early voting, so when the voters come in, scan their driver's license, that program will bring up what their ballot style is. That way, and we're not holding all townships ballots, and I'm not going, hey, I'm running low, or that'll save that problem. I doubt I'll have it ready to go by August, but possibly. This Friday, the state finalizes all the candidates and the proposals, so we'll have an official candidate listing. And then the programmers at Election Source can program our proof ballots, and then the election commission will meet and proof the ballots, everything looks good and it's on there, what's supposed to be versus the official candidate listing. And then the local townships will have their election commissions appoint their inspectors that'll work for the August primary by July 16th. That's due. So I'm running that last training real close to when they have to, but other than that, just a lot of election stuff right now. So I'll be out of the office for the last 2 weeks of June, quite a bit.
Okay. Communications are in your packets, review at your leisure. We'll start with committee reports, Craig. Dave.
I don't have any, I'm trying to look at the date that they're gonna have the ribbon cutting at the new district health department.
17th.
I thought that's what that was the 17th.
Okay, I don't have anything worth mentioning. What do you got?
Attended the TV there in the transportation office, and that was it.
I do have one. We're getting a new cell tower by Lincoln. That's why Karen.
Had the ACCOA board meeting last week. In your packet, there was talking about kinship for senior citizens and their offspring, if you will, the children, grandchildren, or great grandchildren. Also for ACCOA, they are putting out one of the elements is that there's a tendency for a few people to think that the meals are free. They really aren't. We recommended although they do not formally charge for them, the recommended paid cost for a senior is $3 if you're over 60. You know, none of you have reached that yet, but some of us have. And if you're under 60, you're still welcome to come. Please call and let them know, but that fee is $6. So they put in that information in a flyer, and I will see that you each get a copy of it in their newsletter for this month. And hopefully that will, people will say, oh, that's right, I'm supposed to be doing a donation. So it is considered a donation, it's not a mandatory cost. But it is being urged a little more now than it was. Sunrise board meeting, moving forward, getting ready to break ground on our building. I was not present for our opioid committee meeting to the end of May. We will have one in June, which is the third Monday of the afternoon at 1:30. 911 is, the meeting is postponed until next Tuesday. Our director was gone to a conference this week, and she should be back by now. And I missed the 211 board meeting. That's about all.
Sorry, Julie, I have one more thing. Augusta Township is set to receive an application for the first solar installment. They have going in, there's talk about starting construction on 26. But that I know of, it's the first one that's actually going to have an application in for the county. Most of the other townships, but yeah, everyone in
I
here.
think that consumers with Caledonia is tough and small.
Could be, I don't know, but did they have an application actually in or?
I think they do.
Oh, okay, well, they win that contest, I guess. What I'm just saying is that you're about to see a lot more shiny things in the fields going up here, so. And if you want any information on how they go together, at least how Ranger Power does it, I can certainly do anything you want, so.
Do we have a date for the the ribbon cutting or the grand opening for the Vance building?
No, I've not heard. I mean, they're waiting on the well and some other stuff, so as soon as that gets done. Then they'll be ready to set a
The
date.
well and everything is.
I don't think they have the well in.
They don't have it yet.
They're waiting for Guston.
To get yours yet? Not waiting for Guston anything. Guston is also waiting to get the well in as well.
I know, I said that last time, and you corrected me.
Well, I'm just saying, because
They're trying to do
there's
more
talk
for
that
one.
Guston's a big holdup, because
No,
veterans are getting their well, that's not at all. We are also in line to get the well, we're just waiting for them to show up. We.
so the well driller wants to come do both at once. That's what they're told, but from the top.
One last thing, Lincoln. Just the food for thought, but Lincoln is considering marijuana business. FYI, I was in the minutes with some of their last meetings I read, so. Lincoln Village, yeah.
Well, and the feds are looking at having marijuana be dropped from a class 1 to a class 2. And I've given some of you some of the information that I have. Marijuana is. Oh, I don't have.
Just, well,
Very detrimental drug.
I'm not for it either, but I'm just saying, heads up, because another community is talking about allowing the business, so. Then if there's nothing else, public comment, 5 minutes, anybody? Yes.
Hi, good afternoon. Margaret Pitzera, Kings Township. Of course you would hear from me. I've been asking for a decade about our broadband. And this was really encouraging today. And hopefully we can get the grants we need and the support we need from our communities to see this happen. So thank you very much for your consideration and I'll be
You will
waiting.
write a letter of support.
I will write a
And
letter of
lots people
support.
didn't know to do that.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Scott Kosel, Millen Township trustee. I mentioned it to Doug, I'll put it out here for you guys too. This is the business that I was in, so I can help you interpret the MSA and the contract, what you're doing. I'll send my contact information to Doug. I'm a free consultant. That's really what it comes into.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
With the same interest that says, I want broadband in Alcona
Be
County.
careful around here to say free.
I said free, didn't I?
Yeah.
They'll take you up.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I just want to say thanks for dealing with that, ordinance. Amendment for me. Thank you.
Anytime.
Anybody else? Public comment? Okay, Commissioner's final comments? Adjourn. See you next Friday. Or 2 Fridays. 2 Fridays.
Not already. We get the minutes done for this meeting.
Yeah, I would.